अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, entitled Creation, Chapter 8, Prayers by Queen Kunti and Parikshit saved, text number 31. Gopiya dade tvai kritagasidamatavat Yate dasashru kalilanjana sambhramaksham Bhaktram niniya bhaya bhavanaya sthitasya Samam vimohayati bhirapi yad bibheti Gopiya dade tvai kritagasidamatavat Yate dasashru kalilanjana sambhramaksham Bhaktram niniya bhaya bhavanaya sthitasya Samam vimohayati bhirapi yad bibheti Gopya dade tvai kritagasidamatavat Yate dasashru kalilanjana sambhramaksham Bhaktram niniya bhaya bhavanaya sthitasya Samam vimohayati bhirapi yad bibheti Gopya dade tvai kritagasidamatavat Yate dasashru kalilanjana sambhramaksham Bhaktram viniya bhaya bhavanaya sthitasya Samam vimohayati bhirapi yad bibheti
Gopya dade tvai kritagasidamatavat Yate dasashru kalilanjana sambhramaksham Bhaktram niniya bhaya bhavanaya sthitasya Samam vimohayati bhirapi yad bibheti Gopya dade tvai kritagasidamatavat Yate dasashru kalilanjana sambhramaksham Bhakratam niniya bhava bhavanaya sthitasya Samam vimohayati bhirapi yad bibheti Gopiya dade tvai kritagasidamatavat
Gopya dade tvai kritagasidamatavat
Yate dasashru kalilanjana sambhramaksham
Yate dasashru kalilanjana sambhramaksham
Bhaktram niniya bhaya bhavanaya sthitasya
Bhaktam niniya bhaya bhavanaya sthitasya
Samam vimohayati bhirapi yad bibheti
Samam vimohayati bhirapi yad bibheti Gopya dade tvai kritagasidamatavat Yate dasashru kalilanjana sambhramaksham Bhaktram niniya bhaya bhavanaya stitasya
Samam vimoheti birrapi yadbhibeti.
samam vimoheti bhirapi yad bibheti.
Gopya dade tvayi kritagasiddham tavat.
Gopya dade tvai kritagasidam tavat
Yate dashashru kalilanjana.
yate dasashru kalilanjana sambhramaksham bhaktram niniya bhaya bhavanaya stitasya samam vimohati bhirapi yad bibheti. Synonyms: Gopi,
Gopi,
the cowherd lady Yashoda.
the cowherd Yashoda,
Adade, took up. Tvai, on your.
on your
Kritagasi,
Tagashi,
creating disturbances by breaking the butter pot.
making the butter pot.
Dama, rope. Tavat, at that time. Ya, that which. Te, your. Dasa, situation. Ashru Kalila, overflooded with tears. Anjana, ointment. Sambhrama, perturbed. Aksham, eyes. Bhaktram, face. Niniya, downwards. Bhayabhavanaya, by thoughts of fear. Stitasya, of the situation. Sa, that. Mam, me. Vimoheti, bewilders. Bhi api, even fear personified.
Even fear personified.
Yat, whom. Bibheti, is afraid. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation: My dear Krishna, Yasoda took up a rope to bind you when you committed an offense, and your perturbed eyes overflowed with tears which washed the mascara from your eyes, and you were afraid, though fear personified is afraid of you. This sight is bewildering to me. Translation with repetition: My dear Krishna,
My dear Krishna,
Yasoda took up a rope to bind you
Yashoda wrote to bind you
when you committed an offense,
when you committed an offense,
and your perturbed eyes overflooded with tears which washed the mascara from your eyes, and you were afraid, though fear personified is afraid of you. This sight is bewildering to me. Purport by Srila Prabhupada.
Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Here is another explanation of the bewilderment created by the pastimes of the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord is the supreme in all circumstances, as already explained. Here is a specific example of the Lord's being the Supreme Lord and at the same time a plaything in the presence of his pure devotee. The Lord's pure devotee renders service unto the Lord out of unalloyed love only. And while discharging such devotional service, the pure devotee forgets the position of the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord also accepts the loving service of his devotees more relishably when the service is rendered spontaneously out of pure affection, without anything of reverential admiration. Generally, the Lord is worshipped by the devotees in a reverential attitude. But the Lord is meticulously pleased when the devotee, out of pure affection and love, considers the Lord to be less important than himself. The Lord's pastimes in the original abode of Golok Vrindavan are exchanged in that spirit. The friends of Krishna consider him one of them. They do not consider him to be of reverential importance. The parents of the Lord, who are all pure devotees, consider him a child only. The Lord accepts the chastisements of the parents more cheerfully than the prayers of the Vedic hymns. Similarly, he accepts the reproaches of his fiancés more palatably than the Vedic hymns. When Lord Krishna was present in this material world to manifest his eternal pastimes of the transcendental realm of Goloka Vrindavan, as an attraction for the people in general, he displayed a unique picture of subordination before his foster mother Yashoda. The Lord, in his naturally childish, playful activities, used to spoil the stocked butter of Mother Yashoda by breaking the pods and distributing the contents to his friends and playmates, including the celebrated monkeys of Vrindavan, who took advantage of the Lord's munificence. Mother Yashoda saw this, and out of her pure love, she wanted to make a show of punishment for her transcendental child. She took a rope and threatened the Lord that she would tie him up, as is generally done in the ordinary household. Seeing the rope in the hands of Mother Yashoda, the Lord bowed down his head and began to weep just like a child, and tears rolled down his cheeks, washing off the black ointment smeared about his beautiful eyes. This picture of the Lord is adored by Kunti Devi because she is conscious of the Lord's supreme position. He is feared often by fear personified, yet he is afraid of his mother, who wanted to punish him just in an ordinary manner. Kunti was conscious of the exalted position of Krishna, whereas Yashoda was not. Therefore, Yashoda's position was more exalted than Kunti's. Mother Yashoda got the Lord as her child, and the Lord made her forget altogether that her child was the Lord himself. If Mother Yashoda had been conscious of the exalted position of the Lord, she would certainly have hesitated to punish the Lord. But she was made to forget this situation because the Lord wanted to make a complete gesture of childlessness before the affectionate Yashoda. This exchange of love between the mother and the son was performed in a natural way, and Kunti, remembering the scene, was bewildered, and she could do nothing but praise the transcendental maternal love. Indirectly, Mother Yashoda is praised for her unique position of love, for she could control even the all-powerful Lord as her beloved child. Thus ends the wonderful transcendental Bhaktivedanta purport. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminati Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So we are seeing this wonderful section of Kunti Maharani's prayers, the most exalted prayers of Kunti Maharani, which Prabhupada has given lecture on each of this verse, and which is available to us not as a book called Prayers of Queen Kunti, but Teachings of Queen Kunti. So though these are outpours of Kunti Maharani's emotion and love and devotion towards Krishna, but it is also embellished with the philosophical insights, which is very rare to find. And in this particular section that we are discussing, Kunti Maharani is talking about the bewildering pastimes of the Lord. Extremely powerful. Actually, such simple words, but such contrast or the bewildering thing about the Lord is brought out by Kunti Devi is something very astonishing. The previous verse that we had, it says, Janma karma cha viswatman ajasya karturatmanaha tiryan rishushu yadhasu tadatyanta bidambanam. Janma karma cha viswatman ajasya karturatmanaha tiryan rishushu yadhasu. So Kunti Maharani addresses Krishna as Viswatma, Viswatman. And Prabhupada translates that as the vital force which is needed to move this material world. Sometimes we see that there are things which are happening so like, clockwork precision. The weather app that most of us we use says that the sun is going to rise at a particular time. The sunrises happen. It cannot be that the sun decides today that no, today I'll take little more rest. Today is Saturday or Sunday. For last so many years I have been coming on time. I have been doing my duties. Today I will take little rest. No, the sun rises perfectly on time. Sun sets perfectly on time. Seasons change perfectly. Janma karma cha viswatman. Because there is a vital force of the Lord which is there, because of which all these things are working in a clockwork precision. Prabhupada in one place mentions, if the Mother Earth becomes little close to sun, the sun planet, the sun planet, or we can say the star sun, whatever the scientific way. But if it becomes little close, then there won't be any livelihood here. Everybody will be burned to ashes. There will be so much of heat. And if the earth goes a little far from where it is now, everything will be frozen. And it is rightly fixed at the right axis, circumambulating the sun. Janma karma cha viswatman. But unfortunately, this vital force is very difficult to fathom. And Prabhupada gives the example, just like the soul which is present in our body makes this body animated. The body is moving, the body is doing everything because there is this invisible thing called soul, Atman, which is there inside the body. The moment the soul leaves the body, this body is useless. This body is of no use, it's matter. And that is something which we are all going to experience, but that experience of the soul which is present, which is the vital force, which is making this huge body animated and is making this huge body moving, is very difficult to fathom. Janma karma cha viswatman ajasya karturatmana. So Kunti Maharani is telling Janma karma cha viswatman, that the birth and activities of the Supreme Lord, who is the vital force, is very bewildering because he is aja, he is unborn, but he is taking birth. Karma, he is not supposed to natasya karyam karanam cha vidyate. There is no need for Krishna to do any work, but he is acting, he is doing some pastimes. Ajasya karturatmana tiryan rishishu yadhasu. Tiryak means animals. The Lord not only just appears as human being, sometimes he appears as an animal, tiryak, like the boar incarnation. Sometimes he appears as aquatics, like tortoise, fish. Tiryak, nir is human beings. Rishi is sages. Sometimes he is appearing as Naranarayana Rishi. Tiryak nishishu yadhasu tad atyanta vidambanam. This is extremely bewildering. O Lord, who is the supreme vital force, for us the soul which is there inside can never come out. But here the Lord, who is the Viswatman, who is the vital force of this material universe, is also appearing outside. And he is Aja, he is Akartur, but he is still appearing in all kinds of species of life. Tad atyanta vidambanam. This is very bewildering. This was the second bewilderment which Kunti Maharani talks about in the previous verse. And previous to that also, the same word vidambanam was there. Naveda kaschit bhagavam stikirshitam tabeha manasya nrinam vidambanam. Nayasya kaschit daitosti karhichit dveshyascha yasmin vishama matirnanam. Beautiful prayers. Naveda kaschit bhagavam stikirshitam. Naveda kaschit. Nobody knows this wonderful pastimes of the Lord that he performs. Bhagavam stikirshitam. Chikirshitam is the pastimes. Naveda kaschit bhagavam stikirshitam tabeha manasya nrinam vidambanam. The Lord, when he appears like human being, very difficult to fathom why these activities are being performed. Tabeha manasya nrinam vidambanam. Very bewildering. Nayasya kaschid daitosti karhichid dveshyascha yasmin vishama matirnana. Another bewildered thing is, it appears as if the Lord is favoring his pure devotees. Nayasya kaschid daitosti karhichid. Though the Lord has no favor for anyone, neither he is envious of anyone. Dveshyascha yasmin vishama matirnana. Because people think He is favoring this pure devotees of the Lord. That is bewildering to me. That is what Kunti Maharani said. No one can understand your transcendental pastimes, which appear to be human and so are misleading. You have no specific object of favor, nor do you have any object of envy. People only imagine that you are partial. This is the first Bidambana. The second Bidambana is he is Viswatman, who is the vital force of the universe. He is not supposed to work, yet he is acting. He is not supposed to take birth. He is Aja, but he is taking birth. And though he was the Viswatman, he is appearing outside also. And now she tells further that, how in this verse we will see how the third bewildering thing, which is extremely bewildering, he'll talk about that. Before I go there, I wanted to share this one portion of Prabhupada's lecture on this particular verse, 1.8.31, which we are seeing. Prabhupada has given 2 lectures on this, one in Los Angeles and the one in Mayapur. And in this particular thing, Prabhupada is writing, just see the flies, the insects, how much they are suffering. Whole night they struggle to enjoy the lamp, and in the morning all dead. All dead. This is their life. So we are thinking that we are better situated. No, we are not better situated. The principle is the same, that you come here, you accept a certain type of body, and whole night or whole life. Night means ignorance, darkness. So in ignorance, you go on struggling whole life, and then you become dead, finished. The same thing. There is no difference between the life of the insect. There is a very beautiful verse in Bhagavad Gita which comes in the 13th chapter, last verse, where Krishna says, Kshetra kshetra gyor evam antaram jnana chakshusha bhuta prakriti moksham cha ye vidur yanti te param. Kshetra kshetra gyor evam antaram jnana chakshusha. I'm sure all of us, we would have seen these flies who come in the night. Of course, in India, they are more easily visible. And as the Vedic scriptures say, like all of us, we have our life where we take birth as a small baby, we grow up, we become adult, we get married, we produce some children, we become old, and we die. And this takes about 100 years of our time. For the flies or for the insects, also the same thing happens. But it is limited to that just one night. And Prabhupada is saying that night can be compared to darkness, can be compared to life, our life that we have. And it is tama. Tama is darkness. Kshetra kshetra gyor evam antaram jnana chakshusha. If somebody uses jnana chakshu, uses the eyes of knowledge, then he will be able to differentiate between kshetra and kshetragya. Kshetra is this body, and kshetragya is the proprietor of the body. Kshetra kshetragya evam antaram jnana chakshusha. The difference, there is a huge difference. Viswatman, the word is very powerful by Kunti Maharani. So similarly, our life also, whole life, the pursuit is how we can be materially happy, materially comfortable, materially situated in a nice place. But if we see through Jnana Chakshu, then we can see the difference between Kshetra and Kshetragya. Kshetra Kshetragya evam antaram Jnana Chakshusha bhuta prakriti moksham cha ye vidur yanti te param. So not just seeing the difference between the body and the knower of the body, also understanding the process of liberation from bondage and material nature. Bhuta prakriti moksham cha ye vidur yanti te param. They will attain the supreme goal. So two things. One who is able to perceive the difference between kshetra and kshetragya, and who's also serious about knowing about liberation from this bondage of material nature. They will attain the supreme goal. But the material world is created in so many bewildering way. There is one lecture of Madhupandit Prabhu where he was telling that everybody in this material world is bewildered. Some are bewildered by Maya, some are bewildered by Krishna. These pastimes of the Lord, these apparent contradictions, these apparent pastimes of the Lord which is relished by the pure devotees, they are also bewildered. What is this? Why Krishna has to do all these things? Of course, we think from Bhagavad Gita, Paritranaya sadhunam vinasaya cha duskritam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. The Lord descends for this reason of protecting the devotees and annihilating the demons. But for that, he doesn't have to come personally. So why does he come? And that is what is bewildering to Kunti Maharani. And she goes further in today's verse. Very nice. And if you read very carefully, very, very carefully, if you read this purport, it's very nourishing purport, very nicely brought out some of these points by Prabhupada. Sometimes when something is given to us nicely on a plate, to appreciate the hard work which has gone behind in making that dish, or the kind of planning, the kind of meticulously working out a strategy to get that dish, we will not be able to appreciate that much. So unless somebody tells us about that, something similar to that. Now it is Kunti Maharani is telling Gopiyadade tvai kritagasi damatavat bimoheti samam bimoheti. What is the last line? Samam bimoheti bhir apiyat bibheti. That bimoheti, I am bewildered. What is this pastime of the Lord? It is so bewildering. If you remember the word in 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, 13th verse, Krishna says, Tribhir gunameir bhavir, evi sarvam idam jagat mohitam, mohitam na vijanati. So people who are bewildered in this material world, we see so many glaring example of people grossly misutilizing the rare gift of human life. Grossly. No idea what they need to do. And the valuable human form of life is wasted. Yesterday we had gone to some one function which was organized by some FIA and all. I mean, you have to you really don't have to be a very intellectual or sharp observer to see what people are doing there. They have brought deities of Lord Ram, some Ram Parivar, Lord Ram, Sita, Lakshman and Hanuman, and there was a dance performance where all those women came and they were dancing. They were dancing facing their back towards the Lord, carrying the lamp, showing it to the audience. The deity is there behind. I mean, the deity is just there. They are supposed to be there, and that's all it is. We are never conscious of the presence of the Lord in our life. Never. Hardly we are conscious. What happens is, since we are never conscious of the presence of the Lord, we don't have faith in the protection of the Lord. If you don't know that the Lord exists, how will you ever think that the Lord is going to protect you? So we are not conscious of that. Because of that, what we do is, we indulge in sinful activities. Lot of sinful activities. And the more we indulge in sinful activities, the more our lifespan is reduced. As you can see, from Satya Yuga to Tretya Yuga to Dwapara Yuga to Kali Yuga, 100,000 became 10,000, 10,000 years became 1,000 years, 1,000 years became 100 years. With just introduction of some vices. 1/4 of the sin was introduced in Tretya Yuga, 1 0 is gone. Then one more quarter is introduced, another 0 is gone. And finally now there are three of these 4 vices which are introduced in Kali Yuga. And people are indulging in sinful activities grossly. They have no idea whether it is gross or subtle, and they get implicated with so many health issues because the lifespan reduces the moment a person engages in sinful activity. And that is what Sukadeva Goswami says in Bhagavatam, Kaler dosha nidhe rajan. Kaler dosha nidhe rajan. This is an ocean of vices. Can somebody get all the water of ocean in one bucket or in one container or in whatever shape of things that you have? A huge body of water. Impossible. Similarly, Kaler dosha nidhe rajan. This is an ocean of vices. Ocean of vices. Astihi eko mahan guna. There's just one good thing about this Kali Yuga. Kirtana deva krishnasya mukta sangha param rajat. But even that kirtan also becomes difficult for us. Because our priorities in life are so misplaced. Even though we are devotees, we need to really relish those activities which is going to nourish us. But those times we will be having some other things going on in our lives. We'll be busy trying to rearrange, trying to do some things, and we miss out. So if the nourishment to the soul is not coming, if I'm not feeling nourished within, the devotional service over a period of time will become a burden. It'll not be, you're not, no more, you're not relishing. There is nothing new in devotional life. But the same thing, when it is done properly, mindfully, presently, being present in that situation. Sometimes most of the things that we do, including devotional service, anything that is given to us, very materially, very mechanically, without our soul being involved, without really understanding what we are doing. It can happen once in a while, but I should do the course correction, I should do that reflection, and I should understand this is for the Supreme Lord. This opportunity is not given to everybody. But that value, if I lose it, then everything becomes mechanical. The names of the Lord also becomes mechanical, chanting becomes difficult, doing devotional service, and material things start becoming more and more important in our lives. Material priorities, this position, that object, this sense gratification, that place, I have to decorate myself, I have to go in this thing, all these thoughts will start coming. That is called the bewilderment of the Maya. So we got to consciously choose every moment whether we want to get bewildered by Maya or we want to get bewildered by this wonderful pastimes of the Lord. So in this verse, as I said, there are 4 beautiful points which Prabhupada brings in the purport. That's actually, I don't know how we should thank Srila Prabhupada for this wonderful pastimes and the way he brings it. It's just so powerful. So Gopi adade tvai kritagasi damatavad yate dasashru kalilanjana sambramaksham bhaktram niniya bhayabhavanaya stitasya samam vimoheti bhir apiyad bibheti. Every year for 1 month we celebrate this pastimes of Damodar. And it is so enchanting. It is so much of relish, so much of love, so much of knowledge and insights in this pastimes. And how beautifully this is brought out. Imagine now, if you have to imagine about this pastime. Kunti Devi is also, she was not personally present, but she's thinking this sight. And this sight is so powerful. Like Bhishma Dev, at the time of his death, I was telling the other day, he is remembering all those sights, all those impressions of the Lord. How the Lord came with a broken wheel to kill him. And he was having profuse sweating on his face, on his forehead. There was dust which has come from the hooves of the horses, and that sight is so enchanting to Bhishma Dev. And Bhishma Dev is telling, don't go away, O Krishna. Let me focus my mind on you before I quit my body. He doesn't want to lose the sight of Krishna. Here also Kunti Maharani is remembering this sight. And the sight is so bewildering. We might have seen this every time that photo is kept during Kartik month. We sing that Damodara Ashtakam every day. We offer ghee lamb. But how beautifully this pastime has been enacted and how beautifully our acharyas are explaining. Let us see from this purport. There are 4 things which Prabhupada is mentioning. Here is another explanation of the bewilderment created by the pastimes of the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord is the Supreme in all circumstances, as already explained. Yesterday, Badri, he was telling me that he met some Vedantist. And the Vedantist was telling, we are all Narayana. In just a matter of time, if we do our proper sadhana, if we practice, we can also all become Narayana. Right? So Prabhupada says here, the Supreme Lord is the Supreme in all circumstances, as already explained. Elsewhere Prabhupada says, God is God and dog is dog. God can never become dog and dog can never become God. No matter how much sadhana you do, you can never become God. So there is one in the purport of the pastimes of Putana, when Krishna killed Putana, Prabhupada writes that Krishna is the Supreme Lord even on the lap of Mother Yashoda. He is not some chota baby, then he went to some gym, did some fighting exercises, jujutsu and all, and then he came back as Supreme Lord to fight with all the demons. That doesn't happen. The Lord is Lord from the beginning. So the first thing that Prabhupada is mentioning is that the Supreme Lord is supreme in all respects. And then he says, the next line, something which is very bewilder. bewildering. Here is a specific example of the Lord's being the Supreme Lord and at the same time a plaything in the presence of his pure devotee. He is the Supreme Lord from the birth, from the day zero that he has come. But he becomes a plaything. Plaything means like, you tell something, you do this, or you throw like this dog, we throw some ball and he goes and gets it. Like that the Lord becomes. This is the first bewilderment which he says. Actually, this bewilderment is not an ordinary bewilderment. Even Sukadev Goswami, when he thinks and narrates about these pastimes, he is thinking, what fortune this cowherd boys and the cowherd men in Vrindavan have got. What kind of pastimes they do. If you read this verses in Bhagavatam, very relishable, these pastimes. When Krishna used to go to the forest with all his cowherd boys and the kind of pastimes that they used to have. Sometimes, they will ask Krishna to open his mouth. Krishna will open very harmlessly, innocuously, not knowing what is going to come. And they will bring some, poisonous or some bitter fruit and that juice is put on his mouth. Krishna, the Supreme Lord, for whom the yogis are meditating for thousands and lakhs of years to get one sight. And these people are playing with him just like, anybody else. Yadi duram gatah Krishno bano sobhik shanayatvam aham purvam iti samsparsha remire. Sometimes Krishna will go to some far off place to get a beautiful sight of the forest, of the jungle. And then all these cowherd boys, they will run. Who can touch Krishna first? They will run. Aham purvam. They'll run and many of them will touch Krishna almost simultaneously. But they will fight amongst them. I have touched him first. Aham purvam iti samparshya remire. And then further, Sukadev Goswami says, Itham satama brahma sukhanubhutya dasyam gatanam paradaivatena Maya Shritanam Naradarakena Sakam Vijruhu Kritapunya Punja. What pious activities they would have performed. Itham Satama Brahma Sukhanubhutya. They're experiencing Brahma Sukha by the presence of the Lord. Itham Satama, in that association. Itham Satama Brahma Sukhanubhutya. Dasyam Gatanam Paradaivatena. Sometimes they're acting as servants, sometimes they're acting as friends, sometimes they're chastising him. If Krishna loses in the game, Krishna has to carry them on his shoulder. Dasyam gatanam parada. If Krishna says, okay, I will not play. Oh, it's not allowed. What do you mean by you will not play? You don't have a right to say like this. He's the Supreme Lord. And these people are playing with him like Dasyam gatanam paradaivetena maya shritanam naradarakena sakam vijruh krita punya punja. It's a long translation. There are a few other verses on top of this. But the simple pastimes, all the boys would be differently engaged. Some boys blew their flutes, others blew bugles made up of horn. Some imitated the buzzing of the bumblebees, and others imitated the voice of the cuckoo. Some boys imitated flying birds by running after the bird's shadow on the ground. Some imitated the beautiful movements and attractive postures of the swans. Some sat down with the ducks, sitting silently, and others imitated the dancing of the peacocks. Some boys attracted young monkeys in the trees. Some jumped into the trees, imitating the monkeys. Some made faces as the monkeys were accustomed to do, and others jumped from one branch to another. Some boys went to the waterfalls and crossed over the river, jumping with frogs. And when they saw their own reflections on the water, they would laugh. They would also condemn the sounds of their own echoes. They will make some sound and they will condemn. Arey, is my sound? In this way, all the cowherd boys used to play with Krishna, who is the source of the Brahman effulgence for Jnanis, desiring to merge into that effulgence, who is the supreme personality of Godhead for devotees, who have accepted eternal servitorship, and who for ordinary persons is but another ordinary child. The cowherd boys, having accumulated the results of pious activities for many lives, were able to associate in this way with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. How can one explain this great fortune? There's no way you can explain this. Amazing fortune. So this is what Kunti Maharani is telling, that the Lord is supreme in all circumstances, yet he becomes a plaything in the hands of his pure devotees. To illustrate this further, this particular thing of how the Lord becomes a plaything, there's a very nice pastime which Prabhupada explains, which Prabhupada often talks about, is when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was visiting to South India. And when he was in Trichy, he saw that there was one Brahmana who was trying to read Bhagavad Gita. And apparently this Brahmana was an illiterate Brahmana. He didn't know how to read Bhagavad Gita. He was carrying the book upside down and trying to chant some slokas incorrectly. And there were wise Brahmanas who were sitting there and they were making fun, imitating that Brahmana. They were laughing at him. So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came there, he saw that this Brahmana is trying to read Bhagavad Gita, and there were tears rolling down from his eyes. And he went and asked him, "Oh Brahmana, what are you trying to do?" He said, "My Guru has given me this instruction that I should read Bhagavad Gita every day. But I am an illiterate person, I don't know how to read, but I am still trying to read every day. And these wise people who know how to read properly and chant, they make fun of me, they are laughing at me." So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "Okay, they are making fun of you, but why are you crying? What makes you cry?" So the Brahmana responded that it is not that, these people are making fun of me that I am crying, or I don't know how to read properly I am crying. I am crying just by, the moment when I am trying to read Bhagavad Gita, this vision, this picture comes to my mind that how the Supreme Lord has agreed to become a charioteer, a chariot driver for his own friend Arjuna. That sight is bewildering to me, and when I just remember that sight, tears are naturally coming out of me. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, you have understood the essence of Bhagavad Gita. Supreme Lord becomes a plaything. Imagine if, between friends, if I tell you today my driver is not there. And next step you should understand, today you have to be my driver for the whole day. Who wants to become my driver? Nobody. So but the Lord, the Supreme Lord has become a plaything in the hands of pure devotee like Arjuna. Second thing which the Lord is telling is that how everybody, they go to the temple or anywhere, when they meet the Lord with awe and reverence, with great awe and reverence. But here you can see Yashoda Mai, because of her position, is chastising Krishna with a rope and a stick. How many of you have seen somebody is coming to the temple with a rope and a stick? Of course, this is not supposed to be imitated, but nobody. We all come, wash our feet, wash our hands, with all, that also is vanishing. But whatever, somebody who has got little bit of sense comes and bows down before the Lord, Supreme Lord, please take care of all my material needs, my family's needs and all those things. That's what we pray. Nobody comes with a chastisement like with a stick or a rope, but that is also a form of worship, very high, very exalted. And Prabhupada assures, actually if somebody perfects his life by taking up to this path of devotion, we can attain to those positions, not prematurely, not that now tomorrow onwards. I don't know if you have, there is one temple in Navadvip. If you go there, there is Arati being performed by Matajis. Okay, hold on. From behind, if you see, there is Mataji who's doing Arati. And when they turn this side, you can see beard and moustache on them. They're men dressed as women, as gopis, as sahajiyas, trying to imitate those things. But it is not meant for imitation. But the position that decides. We are sadhakas, we are not even, forget about Krishna, we don't have even understanding of the difference between body and soul. What can we, how can we imitate those things? But that is bewildering to Kunti Maharani, that Mother Yashoda is worshipping Krishna in the form of, with the help of a stick and a rope. Then she says, everybody is going to the, then he says, you have surrendered to Yashoda Mai. This is another thing which is very beautiful. She says, Bhaktram Niniya Bhaya Bhavanaya Sthitasya. Krishna is telling Sarvadharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Braja. You should surrender unto me. But here he is Bhaktram Niniya. Bhaktram Niniya means his head is bowing down before Yashoda. Out of fear, he is seeing, oh my God, this is Mother Yashoda with a stick. I have done it now. There is no hope for me. And he is looking down. Bhaktram Niniya. So that is bewildering to think. That you have surrendered to Yashoda Mai. And then the last one is Bhir apiyad bibheti. Bhir, the fear personified, is fearful of Krishna And that Krishna is fearful of. Prabhupada writes, thoughts of fear, bhaya bhavanaya sthitasya. He is having fear towards Mother Yashoda, an ordinary woman, and he is having fear to him. Bhir apiyad bibheti. Actually, these are all, if you go little deeper, bhaya or fear is something which is a symptom of material world. Everybody in this material world has got fear. Somebody may say that, no, bro, kya bol rahe ho? I'm very daring, I'm very bold, I will not care, I'll take care of everything. Okay, just tell in the years there is a bomb, somebody told us, we got a call in the morning in the temple somewhere, there is a bomb and it is going to explode in next few hours or something, maybe 1 hour or something. Whoever he may be, he'll run for his life. Yeah. Or you say there is a militant who is hiding somewhere in the temple. You're bold, no? You be here, take care of the temple and deities, we are all going. He'll also run with us. Bhaya is there in material world, is a natural symptom. Vaikuntha, there is no symptom of fear. And because, it is actually, Bhaya is represented by Durga Devi. And she comes with her trident and pokes us. Bhaya, soka moha and Bhaya. Soka moha bhayapaha. Everybody is lamenting. Everybody is having this illusion. And everybody is having this fear. But that Lord, whom this fear personified, she is a person, is scared of. He is feeling scared to be in front of Mother Yashoda. Niniya, Bhaya, Bhavana. These are all bewildering. If you see in Bhagavatam, there is one place where Kapila Muni is talking to his mother, Devahuti, and he says, Mad bhayat vati vato ayam. Surya stapati mad bhayat. Varstinindro dahati agnir. Mrityus charati mad bhayat. What is the translation? It is because of my supremacy that the wind blows. Mad bhayat vati vatoyam. The wind blows because he knows the supreme position of the Lord. Not some ordinary thing. Mad bhayat vati vatoyam. Surya stapati mad bhayat. And out of fear of me, the sun shines. And the Lord of the clouds, Indra, sends forth showers out of fear of me. Fire burns out of fear of me. And death goes about taking its toll out of fear of me. Mrityus charati madbhaya. This is the position of the Supreme Lord. Actually, in our wildest of imagination, this thought, maybe sometimes it strikes when we hear, but we never carry it all our life, or in every single activities that we do, that the Lord is so powerful. Oh my God, madbhayad vati vatoyam. That Lord is fearful of Mother Yashoda. This is bewildering. So, going further, actually, this wonderful pastime of Damodar Leela, which happened on the day of Deepavali, we'll just see why it is so bewildering. And a little bit we'll spend time, maybe 5-10 minutes, and understand this a little more closely. Few aspects, not everything. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, very interestingly, these are all very important points we have to pay attention to. Once one Acharya from another Sampradaya called Ballava Acharya came to meet Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he had written a book in which there are a lot of wonderful names of Krishna which was there. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, I only know about 2 names of Lord. One is Shyama Sundar and the other one is Yashodanandan. So the position, like the earlier verses that we had of Kunti Maharani's prayer, where she says, the Govindaya Namanama, what is that? Krishnaya Vasudevaya, Devaki Nandanaya cha, Nanda Gopa Kumaraya, Govindaya Namanama. In that purport, Prabhupada talks about how these names of Krishna are given in ascending order of giving pleasure. When Lord is addressed along with his devotee, that gives him more pleasure. So Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya cha Nanda Gopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. That Govinda is the highest form of addressing the Lord in terms of giving him pleasure, as per the purport in that particular verse. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says Syama Sundar and Yashodanandan. Everybody in this world wants to become beautiful, fair, wants to have fair skin, fair and lovely, fair and beauty. But Krishna is Shyama. He is dark, but Sundara. What is that verse? Achintya Premanjana Charita Bhakti Bilochanena Santa Sadeva Hridayeshu Bilokayanti Yam Syama Sundaram Achintya Gunaswarupam Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Vachami. He is Shyama, but he is beautiful, Shyama Sundara. And Yashodanandan. The position of Yashoda Mai is just amazing. So on this day of Dipavali, when she wanted to make this butter for Krishna from some choicest cows who are fed flavorable grass, so that the milk will also become flavorable. It's not some ordinary grass which is fed to these cows. And she got up early in the morning. She was busy churning the butter from that choicest cows who are fed that flavorable grass. And at that time, she was singing the pastimes of Krishna, remembering those. How Krishna killed Trinavrata, how Krishna killed Putana, in the form of simple songs. So her body, mind and words, everything was engaged in Krishna's service. This is an ideal example. Krishna got up and came. Krishna wanted to have milk from Mother Yashoda's breast, and she was hungry. So he drew the attention of Mother Yashoda by holding that churning rod. And Mother Yashoda immediately took Krishna on her lap and started feeding. Very out of great affection, great love. Okay, the pastimes of this Damodar is so wonderful. How she was so nicely dressed, the description of that is given. And how because of that churning, the malati flowers were falling down. And how the bangles were, making noise when she was churning those butter is given. And our acharyas, Prabhupada comments on this. Actually, the bangles are considering themselves to be fortunate because they are in association of a pure devotee like Yashoda. So association of pure devotee is so wonderful, and we have to be so grateful that we have gotten that. And this Malati flowers, they are thinking, what is our position? Why should we be there on the head of Yashoda Mai? Our position is at her lotus feet, and they are falling down. Anyway, and she was churning, and while churning, she realized that the milk that she had gotten from that choicest cows, that is getting boiled and it is about to spill. So she was in two minds. What should she do? Should she feed Krishna, or should she go and attend to that milk? And she decided that let me keep Krishna over here. That milk I should protect, because anyway Krishna is known as श्याम सुंदर से क्या करना है इसके साथ कृष्ण Krishna is known as Makhan Chor. He will go and steal butter from other houses. Let me ensure that all the nicest preparations of butter and whatever milk related things are available here, so that he doesn't go. This is another beauty in contradiction of Krishna. He is considered to be a thief, but that thief is worshipped everywhere. It's wonderful. I mean, thief ko kya kare? Juta buta leke marte hain. But he is a Makhan Chor, and he is the greatest. That's what that song, Braje Prasiddham Navanita Choram Gopangananam cha Dukula Choram Aneka Janmarjita Papa Choram Choragraganyam Purusham Namami. Braje Prasiddham is most famous. Navanita Choram. Where is that kind of a thief who's so glorified? Braje Prasiddham Navanita Choram Gopangananam cha Dukula Choram. He steals not just butter, he steals the miseries, the distresses from our life. Gopangananam cha Dukula Choram Aneka Janmarjita Papa Choram. How many lifetimes of sins we have done. Actually, we don't realize, because we are under the shelter of Prabhupada, we are under the umbrella of Prabhupada, all the sinful actions that we have done, somebody is a meat eater, somebody is doing something, illicit sex, all those kind of things, those reactions are extremely powerful. But somehow, because we have held on to this lotus feet of Prabhupada, that umbrella protection is there, we are protected. Otherwise, Aneka Janmarjita Papa Choram, that Lord can steal all the sinful activities that we have done for many, many lifetimes. Choragraganyam Purusham Namami. Of all those thieves, he is the Agraganya, he is the topmost, he is the foremost. Choragraganyam Purusham Namami. This is Chorastakam. So Mother Yashoda thought that I should keep the baby Krishna down and go and attend to that milk. By the time when he goes, Krishna was very angry. He bites his lips, the red lips that we muhus chumbitam bimba rakta dharam me. What is that? Muhus chumbitam bimba rakta dharam me manasya virastam alam lakshalabhe. So Krishna was so angry, he bit his lips, and then he took a stone and threw at that churning pot. So the butter came out of that churning pot. Then he goes and steals the butter from those places which were hanging from the roof, along with his cowherd boys and monkeys, and he was distributing it to the monkeys. That time Mother Yashoda came. She saw that Krishna is missing in that action. He is not there, and he understood what has happened. So she goes with this stick in her hand, and with that stick when she goes and then starts chasing Krishna, it's not possible to capture Krishna just like that. But because of her efforts, her endeavor and devotion, Krishna allows to get captured. Bewildering pastime. That rope always falling short by 2 inches, right? It's so wonderful, this pastimes of Lord. Finally Krishna is being captured. And that is what is so bewildering. That Supreme Lord, who is, even the fear personified is fearful of him, is being captured by an ordinary woman because of her endeavor and devotion. These are the two elements. If we also do this, ahetuki apratihata bhakti. There is no cessation here. If you would really have understood the essence of our life, if you have understood from the Vedic scriptures our constitutional position, which is Krishnera Nityadas, then there is no question of, today I will do 3 days, I will take off, 4th day I will show up, 5th day I will take off, 6th day I will come. No. Ahetuki apratihata. Uninterruptedly, and ahetuki, no cause. I am engaging in devotional service. This is the greatest blessing, the greatest fortune I can have. When we feed our ears and intellect with the knowledge, we remain fixed. Otherwise, this devotional service becomes very, very burdensome. So here, one thing which Prabhupada talks about in the lecture that he has given, that this is also another opulence of the Lord. How many opulences of the Lord are there? 6. What are those? Very good. A round of applause. All 6 you got it right. So Prabhupada says this is also one of the opulence of Krishna. Can somebody say what opulence of Krishna is this? That he's been captured by Mother Yashoda. Not easy, isn't it? Prabhupada says this is opulence of his beauty. Krishna, the Supreme Lord, Anor Aniyana Mahato Mahiyan. So he's smaller than the smallest and he's bigger than the biggest. And this aspect of Krishna is another aspect of his beauty. And Prabhupada illustrates this with a very beautiful example. Very nice. He tells about the story of the Prime Minister of UK by name Gladstone. So once one employee of this Gladstone wanted to visit him on a weekend when there is no office. There was some important work, so he goes to his house. And he was asked to wait, and Gladstone was busy for 1 hour, 1 hour, 45 minutes, 2 hours. Then this guy got curious. What is he doing inside? So he went and peeped through the window. And he saw that, Gladstone has become a horse and his grandson is sitting on him, pulling his ears. And Gladstone is apparently enjoying that, relishing that. So sometimes the Lord enjoys being subservient to his devotees. The Mayavadis talk about becoming one with Krishna. Prabhupada says we should become more than that. Like in the case of Mother Yashoda, we can become more than becoming one with Krishna. Krishna becomes subservient. It is possible. But it requires, right now we are following this Vaidhi Bhakti. Naturally, when you keep doing this without hesitation, without inhibition, without reservation, there will be a stage when there will be a spontaneous love for Krishna. There will be a spontaneous attraction to get up and come in the morning for Mangalarti. Not that 3 alarms, 4 alarms, somebody is calling and chastising, and still I am not worried. I am sleeping. I am not able to come. Right? There's no love and devotion. So that is why Prabhupada says when the first 9 cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam we read very systematically and thoroughly, we will understand the signs of God. We will understand the greatness of God. We will understand who the Supreme Lord is. Then all these pastimes become so relishable. That is the sweetness of the Lord, which is exhibited in Vrindavan, in Brajabhumi. Nobody is worried about the greatness over there. Everybody is exchanging in the sweetness. They don't care. Krishna every day used to kill one demon, and the cowherd boys will come and tell Krishna killed this demon, Krishna killed that demon, Krishna killed this, that, and these cowherd boys will discuss, and cowherd men will discuss and say, maybe he's a demigod. That also they are not sure. Maybe he's a demigod. Maybe he's bestowed with some power. They never get. This is the Yogamaya of the Lord, which bewilders them, and they think that he's an ordinary. If they always have this feeling that he's the Supreme Lord, he has got all the power, how Mother Yashoda will go with the stick to chastise? Not possible. So these are all the wonderful pastimes of the Lord, which is meant for us to ruminate, to reflect, and see how many apparent contradictions are there, and how even great pure devotee of the Lord like Kunti Maharani is also bewildered. Prabhupada writes in the purport, actually she's from Hastinapur. She's not a resident of Vrindavan. She doesn't have this adhikar. She doesn't have this right to go and chastise Krishna. She is aunt, Krishna is nephew. That is what is their relationship. But she is seeing how Mother Yashoda is so privileged, how she has been given this exalted position of chastising Krishna. So these are some of these wonderful pastimes from this verse. Any question, any comments? No question, we'll stop here. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Nitai Gaur Premanande. Hari.